There was a time when motorcycles were simple, tough, and built to last, and the Honda CB500 is the best example of that. A bike that accompanied thousands of riders on their first journeys, survived the test of time, and is still going strong today. But what made this machine so special? How did it manage to earn its place in history? Today, we travel back in time to remember the legendary Honda CB500. To understand the story of the Honda CB500, you first have to understand the battle it was born into. We're in the 1990s. Honda was already a giant in the world of two wheels, with legends like the CB750, the bike that created the superbike concept, and the CBR600F, a sport bike that balanced power and ease of use. But there was a problem. The mid-displacement market was dominated by Suzuki and Kawasaki. The Suzuki GS500 ruled the scene with its twin-cylinder engine, simple, cheap, and ultra-reliable. An air-cooled engine, no frills, easy to maintain, and with an unbeatable price. It was the bike that beginners loved and mechanics hated, because it almost never broke down. On the other hand, the Kawasaki ER5 offered a similar concept, a practical, economical bike designed to last. It wasn't the most exciting, but it got the job done. Meanwhile, Honda was watching the situation and thinking, all right, we have to get into this fight, but in our own way. Honda didn't just want to compete, they wanted to win. It wasn't enough to just make a cheap bike. It had to be more refined, more powerful, and more advanced than its rivals, without losing the reliability that made it a safe buy. And so, in 1993, the Honda CB500 was born, a bike with a water-cooled twin-cylinder engine, more power than the GS500, and better quality components. A bike that Honda designed with a clear purpose, to dethrone Suzuki and prove that it could make the best entry-level motorcycle on the market. What Suzuki and Kawasaki didn't know was that Honda was about to launch a bike that would still be running decades later, when many of its rivals would already be in the scrapyard. It was a bike built to last. A twin-cylinder engine with 499 cubic centimeters, carbureted, water-cooled, with 58 horsepower and a smooth, usable torque from low revs. But the real key to its success wasn't just the power, but its indestructibility. The CB500 wouldn't break down even if you used it as a motorcycle taxi in hell. There are stories of owners who have surpassed 200,000 kilometers without ever opening the engine, just with basic, regular maintenance. And speaking of maintenance, it was practically non-existent. You change the oil, spark plugs, and tires, and just keep riding. Plus, Honda thought of everything. Ridiculously low fuel consumption, just 4 liters per 100 kilometers. The CB500 not only took you far, but did it without breaking the bank on gas. Total versatility. It doesn't matter if you use it in the city, for long trips, or just to have fun on twisty roads on the weekend. It's good for everything. Tubular steel frame, tough, reliable, and with a balanced weight to offer stability without becoming clumsy. Reliable suspension and efficient brakes. They weren't from a sports bike, but they more than did their job. The result? An easy-to-ride, economical bike that could handle whatever you threw at it. Honda didn't just build a beginner's bike, they built a legend on 2 wheels. Honda, always thinking of its riders, decided in 1998 to give the CB500 a more practical twist and launched a version with partial fairing, designed for those who wanted more wind protection and a more touring-oriented look. At first glance, it was the same bike, but with a big advantage for those who spent hours on the road, greater comfort on long journeys. The fairing deflected the air better, reducing fatigue on the highway and improving aerodynamics without sacrificing its essence as a versatile and economical motorcycle. Technical differences. Mechanically, almost none. Same twin-cylinder engine, same bomb-proof reliability, and the same low fuel consumption. But that small change in the bodywork made this version the favorite of 3 key types of users. 1. couriers and delivery riders. They were looking for a bike that was not only reliable and cheap to maintain, but also offered a bit more comfort for spending long hours on the road. 2. Driving school instructors. Thanks to its easy handling, gentle engine, and low operating costs, many driving schools adopted it to teach future bikers. And 3. Travelers on a tight budget. If you wanted to cover long distances without spending a fortune on gas or suffering from the wind hitting your chest, this CB500 was a perfect option. In the end, this small design change gave the CB500 a new lease on life, turning it into one of the most beloved bikes for daily use and budget travel. Because Honda truly knew that sometimes even a single, crucial detail makes all the significant difference. This is precisely where the battle truly gets interesting and engaging. The Suzuki GS500 had an undeniable strong point. It was cheaper. Its simple mechanics meant that almost anyone with a basic set of tools could do maintenance on it. Its classic, no-frills design made it a reliable bike that was easy to repair. But not everything was perfect. Air-cooled engine. It worked well in most cases, but in very hot climates or heavy traffic, it struggled with the heat and lost performance. Simpler chassis. It did the job, but it didn't have the same rigidity as Honda's, which became noticeable when you pushed it in corners or often rode with a passenger. Basic suspension. It wasn't bad, but compared to the CB500, it felt less refined and less capable of absorbing bumps in the road. On the other hand, there was the Kawasaki ER5, a bike that entered the competition with similar features, twin-cylinder, easy to handle, and with comparable power. But it had some weak points, less refined suspension and brakes. They didn't offer the same precision and confidence as the CB500, especially during hard braking or on rough terrain. Less presence in the market. Although it was a competent bike, it didn't have the same impact or the same reputation for being an indestructible tank that Honda and Suzuki achieved. We could say that the CB500 won the war. It depends on how you look at it. Yes, it cost more than its rivals, but it was worth every euro or dollar spent. Its liquid-cooled engine was much more durable in extreme climates. Its tubular frame was sturdier and more stable, and its suspension and brakes were better balanced, making it a more well-rounded bike. And the proof is in the numbers. Today, most of the CB500s from the 90s are still running without any issues, while many of their rivals have disappeared or have had to undergo major rebuilds. On the battlefield of mid-displacement motorcycles, the CB500 not only survived, it became the benchmark for the segment. In the early 2000s, Europe tightened the screws with anti-pollution regulations. Carburation was becoming a thing of the past and motorcycles had to evolve. Honda didn't fall behind and reinvented the CB500, giving rise to the CBF500. What changed? This would be the last time these models came with carburetors, although they did a great job with efficiency. Now the engine was more efficient, produced less pollution, and had a more precise response in any condition. Optional ABS. Safety became a key point, and Honda offered an anti-lock braking system on this model for the first time. A stiffer, revised chassis. Stability was improved, especially at high speeds and on rough roads. A more modern design. Its look changed with smoother lines and a more enveloping fairing that made it appear more up-to-date. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Did it lose the essence of the original CB500? While the CBF500 became more refined, safer, and more modern, it also lost some of the simplicity and toughness that made the CB500 from the 90s special. More technology, more things that can fail. Although electronic fuel injection, which was later forced into service, was an improvement in many ways, it also meant that problems could no longer be solved with a simple screwdriver, as on the old CB500. Extra weight. Between the revised chassis and the injection system, the bike became heavier, which slightly affected its agility. Less mystique, less impact. The original CB500 had that reputation as a bike that can withstand anything, something the CB500 never quite achieved. Result? The CB500 was an excellent motorcycle, reliable and versatile, but it did not leave the same mark as its predecessor. Despite its improvements, it didn't generate the same unconditional love from bikers, and little by little, the market started asking for something new. In 2007, Honda discontinued the CB500. Why? Because the Hornet 600 and the NS 700X became the favorite options in the mid-displacement range. But CB500 fans didn't forget about it. It was just too good to die. In 2013, Honda did what we all wanted. They brought the CB500 back to life, but this time with 3 different models. CB500F, a modern and accessible naked bike. CBR500R, a sporty version with fairing. CB500X, a trail version for the adventurers. These new CB500s kept the original essence, but with modern technology. A twin-cylinder engine with 471 cubic centimeters and 47 horsepower to comply with the A2 license. Electronic fuel injection for better fuel efficiency. ABS brakes as standard. Since then, the CB500 family has continued to evolve with improvements in suspension, brakes, and electronics. If you're looking for a reliable, economical, and versatile bike, the CB500 is still one of the best options on the used market. The first generation of the CB500 is perfect if you want something cheap and tough. Its second generation, the CBF500, offers better safety but less character. And its latest generations, from 2013 onwards, have all the modern technology with the spirit of the original. Best of all, the CB500s from the 90s are still running perfectly. From its launch in the 90s until today, the Honda CB500 has proven to be one of the best mid-displacement motorcycles in history. Indestructible, economical, and versatile. It survived the competition, the passage of time, and changes in regulations. Today, it remains the queen of reliability and a safe choice for those looking for a balanced, hassle-free bike. And if you'd like to learn about its great rival, the Suzuki GS500, click on this video and I'll see you there.